Cases of children being executed before the age of 18, as recent as June 2008, when an Iranian Kurd, Mohammad Hassanzadeh, was executed at the age of 16. Or a few years before that, Atif Sahal-Rajabi, who was executed also at age 16 for acts incompatible with chastity. In other words, for having sex outside of marriage. In less than 24 hours from now, there's a girl named Dilara Darabi who will be executed by the Islamic Republic of Iran. 17-year-old girl who spent the last 5 years in prison. Well, now she's 22. But unless people like you and me get involved and put enough pressure to grant a stay of her execution, there's new evidence which proves it was a right-handed person that committed the murder. She is left-handed, but they will not give her a new trial to present this new evidence. False fact number 4. Iranian officials, including the head of judiciary, have repeatedly said that there was a moratorium on stoning and that they were not taking place anymore. However, one man was stoned to death in March and 2 prior to that in December. Even if Mr. Ahmadinejad denies child executions and stoning, how does he justify the fact that Iran has the #1 amount of executions in the world per capita, coming only second to China, many of whom are political prisoners and prisoners of conscience? I will leave this to Ahmed Batibi, the famous Iranian dissident that was imprisoned and tortured, to speak more about the situation of political prisoners. But just to give you a perspective, Islamic Republic of Iran has imprisoned and tortured for the last couple of years Ayatollah Burujerdi, who is a Shia cleric. He's one of their own, simply for advocating between the separation of religion and state. What I'm thinking is, if they can treat their own this way, what are they doing to other ethnic and religious minorities? Whether it's Sunnis, Sufis, Ahle Yasin, Dervishes, Zoroastrians, Christians, and among the worst, the Baha'is, who are often denied access to universities, proper jobs. 7 of their top leaders having been imprisoned. A few top Christian leaders in Iran being imprisoned. The list goes on. And just to put a human face to this, I would like to talk about Azitan Ahmed Reza, a refugee couple that just landed. I just welcomed them into Vancouver a couple of weeks ago. They're a Christian convert. They spent 5 years in a prison in Iran, repeatedly getting tortured, both physically and emotionally. And they were made to promise that they would not continue with their activities. They were part of the 1999 student demonstrations for freedom and democracy. But they still felt the fear when they got out of prison, because of the new apostasy laws that exist in Iran, the draft apostasy laws that would condemn somebody that converts from Islam to another religion to death. So they lived in fear for many years in hiding until they finally escaped through the mountains of Kurdistan to Iraq, onto Turkey, tried to get to Greece where Azitan's family lived, only to get imprisoned, or they got arrested by the Greek police, sent back on the shores of the Turkish, in Turkey, and the Turkish police, the authorities grabbed them, put them in jail for 9 months for being illegal aliens, until finally UNHCR gave them refugee status, and then Canada gave them asylum. But what I'm trying to say here is that why should thousands have to escape Iran, their homeland country that they don't want to leave? The same law that exists for labor unions in Iran. Many people are leaving. There's brain drain. Why is this oil-rich country have a spike in poverty, drug abuse, prostitution, HIV/AIDS? Believe it or not, they've even imprisoned some of the top leading activists in terms of HIV/AIDS, Drs. Kamiar and Arash Azai, currently in prison on charges for 3 to 6 years imprisonment because of talking about HIV/AIDS. They said they've conspired with national foreign governments, but as all trumped-up charges. Other countries are using these doctors as models to create their own HIV harm reduction programs, but yet my country of birth has imprisoned them. Why should I be even nervous being here in Switzerland? Because I know that dissidents have even been murdered outside of Iran. Because I know nothing is beneath the Islamic Republic of Iran. I look forward to the day when the international community recognizes the real faces and voices of the Iranian people. We are good people with a rich history and a lot to offer. We are the sons and daughters of Cyrus the Great, the founding father of Persia, who advocated and drafted the first declaration of human rights the world has ever known 2,500 years ago, banning slavery and advocating for freedom of religion. Iranians want freedom. The demographics are on the side of democratic change. 70% of the population of Iran is below just the age of 30. They're thirsty for freedom, thirsty to connect with the West. We simply need to empower them, the students, the women, the labor unions, and we will have the recipe for peace in Iran and the surrounding areas of the Middle East. Those running for parliament shouldn't have to be vetted by the conservative Guardian Council appointed by a supreme leader. And the buck does not stop at Iran. All those living under authoritarian rule, like China, like Burma and others, deserve the right to establish their future under a democratic system. And as World United Voices, I believe we can make that happen. I'm happy now to convene our first session, Racism, Genocide, and Crimes Against Humanity, Assessing the Genocide Convention After 60 Years. Chairing will be the Honorable Erwin Kostler, a member of the Canadian Parliament, who serves as Special Counsel on Human Rights and International Justice to the Liberal Party. He is Canada's former Minister of Justice and Attorney General, and a distinguished professor of international human rights law. As a lawyer for dissidents around the world, including Nelson Mandela and Andrei Sakharov, he is known as Counsel for the Oppressed. It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Kostler. You have the floor.
I want to begin by thanking my colleague and